Good evening, everyone. Welcome to what I think is a really important episode because we're going to be talking about the future and really, is there a future for EVs? Uh, that's a big question. Is there a future for EVs? Obviously, there's this huge push, and I think it's a little premature. And I think I'm going to upset some people in this episode because we're going to be talking about the whole Dodge even did a commercial on it during the Super Bowl, premature electrification. Very funny joke, ha ha. And they're trying to say that they're going to resolve all this range anxiety. Really, I think they're going to bring us to an even bigger problem. Not just Dodge. This whole forced EV push going really quick on EV is going to could have some very severe consequences. First of all, for this push to occur, lithium production as well as some other minerals, cobalt, magnesium, generally need to increase tenfold over 10 years. And in no time in human history do I believe something has been increased, the production has been increased tenfold over 10 years. So, and these are complex systems, and it's going to be complicated. It's going to create huge price increases and could even force us to end up gladly, willingly, and happily choosing to rent our rides, sort of like an autonomous taxi system. And if you have listened over the last few years of what's been discussed at Davos, what's been discussed by big heads, Elon Musk, Kathy Woods, a lot of people, a lot of financial people, a lot of head of companies have been talking about a push towards really ride sharing, and that people will gladly and happily accept ride sharing. The only way I see people gladly giving up vehicle ownership is if vehicles have become too expensive, and this very well will happen if this true full-out electrification push comes into place. And as well, if we don't find other battery sources, if we don't create batteries in huge numbers using something other than lithium. So I think you're gonna have to pick up Lily because she's running into the pole and causing all sorts of trouble. Just like this EV push too quickly will cause all sorts of trouble. So we're gonna explain why. We're also gonna bring some really cool news. We're gonna talk about the Rev, so the Dodge Ram Rev, because now it's not just the Revolution, which was the prototype. We're now on the Rev, and we've got things to share here. And audio keeps breaking up. Please let us know, Marie. Can you maybe follow that, man? I keep bringing this up, but the audio needs work. Okay, at least the video looks great. Other than this bright light that Marie's going to turn off in just a moment and probably put on another secondary source of lighting. So if you want to just take care of taking out those lights. So let's get this show started. Sorry, folks, for the bit of trouble. First of all, let's talk about some good news. The good news is we have an electric vehicle. We're not just talking out of our hats. I wear a hat even though I have hair. What can you do? I think you need experience to really be able to talk about something. And we needed to buy this Lightning. Marie actually was the least sold on this. She thought that the EV would not be nearly as fun and enjoyable as the Bronco. And well, we've got news. We actually love our Lightning. I just did a video about EV charging, and the vehicle was smart enough to not let me charge and cause damage. Had that been, a fuel source, a gas pump or a gas tank that had bad petrol in it, I've had it locally happen about 3 times in the same small city, 3 times that I heard of just in 2022, and this caused mechanical problems for people. So I love my Lightning. So I'm going to make some people happy today, and I'm probably going to upset absolutely everybody because I've got some really harsh truths to speak about EV and the huge dangers that they are posing and the huge problems that they could cause to the economy, the huge problems that they could cause to individual ownership. They could really be that catalyst to make ownership of vehicles a thing of the past, except for the wealthy, just like that is happening with real estate currently when huge corporations and financial firms create portfolios to, let's say, buy $110 billion of real estate. Well, that done over a decade or two will drive increased prices on real estate, causing people to be in a situation where they have to rent. But then when you only have a few controlling the supply, um, and there's a lot of demand, well, then rents likely could go up and be a even more significant part of our monthly income. Well, simply put, EV prices, actually, I'll start with the bad news. EV prices have gone up tremendously. Yes, Tesla lowered their prices recently. Yes, we've got some good news with the Mach-E lowering prices. That's not because Ford found a less expensive way to build these right now. They will, because we've got great battery information coming out of Ford. Lots of jobs created in Michigan, $3.5 billion invested. So we'll get to that. But the bad news to electrification is there's been this huge push, and people have been manufacturers have been buying up lithium like nobody's business. So when you've got a lot of supply, a lot of demand, and a limited supply, and a supply that's much lower than demand, well, it caused prices to skyrocket. And that's one of the dangers with this electrification push. Of course, we all know also that you need actually a clean source of electricity to charge these vehicles. And sometimes you have rolling blackouts in certain areas. So the grid's not ready for it. And yes, for Valentine's Day, I do hope to resolve the sound issue. It's wild. If you saw in here, it's pretty behind us, but there's actually a mattress in front of us. So we'll do some tests tomorrow night.
Sound ending.
Yeah, for Valentine's Day, we'll work on more sound ending, but we got some on the ceilings and all around. So let's just jump right into it. You know, my feelings are with this EV push. Prices are going up in regards to this fight for lithium, and you know the winner of the battle is those that are willing to pay the most. So EV prices are going to go up. If all the vehicles are required to be electric, this is going to make ownership very difficult for a lot of people. And I don't look forward to a future where, I have forgotten enough about the past that I'm somehow happy to get to pay a fee to be driven to work and not actually get to own the vehicle. All-Terrain Nation, Dave, thank you very much. So Dave, actually, it's cool. David and Kelly at All-Terrain Nation, they're going to have the Ram. They're going to have the Ram Rev. They've put their deposit down now. I've got positive things to say about the electrification. We were actually really pleasantly surprised. We had an incredible drive. We'll have our first impressions video coming out soon. But you're the most skeptical of all. You really didn't want me to sell the Bronco. You were saying like, let's just keep the Bronco. Why do we need this electric truck? So why don't you talk about your impressions?
At the same time, it's not only because it's electric. I wasn't sure. It's the size. So an F-150 is not easy to park everywhere in every store. The Bronco was easy. It turns very sharply. So I wasn't sure to go again with F-150, even if I really loved it in the past. Now that I touch a Bronco, I'm like, yeah, that's the perfect size. It turns well. It's easy. I never have trouble with that kind of size. So, yeah, and just because it's electric, yes, it was a good thing to try it.
But you love the acceleration.
Yeah, and
well,
the video,
loved and hated.
You will see.
You would have loved it if you would have been driving
I only hated when you push it too hard.
Yeah, I pushed it hard enough that I had these mugs.
It's the driver problem.
These lightning mugs all wrapped up in the lightning, and because they're going back and forth between the hard acceleration and the hard braking, I actually broke one of the 3 mugs. And like these things were packed away with bubble wrap and everything. So the acceleration is incredible. This thing, the comfort is like a Rolls Royce. The handling feels like my Mustang GT, and the acceleration is like a mid-level 911 Porsche. Not the standard Porsche. This has more like Porsche GTS acceleration. It's incredible. And I really feel that the money for the Lightning is worth it if you're not buying it as a truck to tow things with, but you're driving it as a high-end luxury vehicle. So it's an incredible product. We both love the Lightning. And when we're looking over here at the Ram, we've talked about it. what we like about the Lightning is also what we like about the Rev. So well done, David and Kelly over at All Terrain Nation. I think you made a good choice putting a deposit on one of these things. I love the fact that it's, you know, the prototype was pretty out there, but still less than, you know, Chev, GM. They're going all futuristic. And I really liked the Revolution. I had, you know, many people are disappointed that we're pretty much guaranteed now to not have the capacity to open up the front trunk and have, you know, let's say wood go from the front trunk all the way to the back of the bed tailgate. From the beginning, I was like, how's that going to work? The minute you put gravel in, these rails are going to jam up and it's going to be something that breaks, that causes frustration. Also, you know, you have that Ram said, well, there's certain things for safety that the prototype couldn't bring to market. So you're not going to have suicide doors. We've often seen those on prototypes. We never get them. You're also probably not going to have that window. So you see here in the picture, it looks like the window, the windshield that really started going into the hood area. That's gone. But I do like the toned down style. We both like it when a truck looks like a truck. Now, non-truck people are going to be disappointed, but we're non-truck people. You know, Ram probably, like Ford, figured there's going to be more truck people buying this truck than non-truck people. And what's odd, though, is I think these vehicles are fantastic from a performance standpoint, not from a save the earth standpoint. And I do want cleaner water. I want cleaner air. I used to walk my German Shepherd or jog my German Shepherd up a hill, and all the diesel school buses would go by, and it just didn't feel very good on the lungs. Neither my dog nor I seem to like that very much. And diesels have gotten tremendously cleaner, but these seem to be diesels with like no chips, no technology. These were just burning coal, and that's what we were taking in. So I want a clean environment, but we're not going to get them by forcing full electrification. I'm sorry, but it's silly and misinformed to go with this all electrification push. This isn't going to save the environment. What this is going to do is allow something that's been talked about at Davos. You know, the big, you know, world organizations have talked about doing this, and that's having less vehicles on the planet, because we are renting our rides. That, not leasing where you get the vehicle for 3-4 years, but just paying to, you know, schedule in that every Monday to Friday you get picked up at home at, you know, whatever it is, 8 in the morning, and then they pick you up at work at 5 p.m. That is the danger that electrification push has. It's not about saving the environment. Lithium, it's dirty, mining lithium. These batteries, not the best process for getting rid of them. And really, there's only a certain amount of lithium in the world. So Toyota's chief scientist, Gil Pratt, so not Chris Pratt if you're into superhero movies, and you know, if you're into movies, Gil Pratt, so Toyota's chief scientist, was talking about this. He's saying that, you know, the science goes to show that there's only a certain amount of lithium in, you know, available. And if let's say we're to use it all up, but put it to scale, they have the numbers here. Tim Esterdale, over at Pickup Truck and SUV talked specifically about these numbers. So if you want more information on it, he did a fantastic job breaking them down. Basically, it's saying, let's say you've got 250 units of pollution, and you use all the lithium to make as many electric vehicles as you possibly can. Well, you're going to go from 250 units of pollution to 248.5. But then if you're to actually use all that lithium to create plugins, you'd end up with 205. So this is what I've been saying now for quite some time. Full EV is a great solution for some, for performance, for comfort. These vehicles are heavy. They've got, you know, our Lightning, it's 6,300 pounds. And it has the most comfortable suspension we've ever been in, and it still handles like crazy, and it accelerates like crazy. It's worth the money from a performance standpoint. It's stupid from a saving their environment standpoint, because we only have so much lithium to go around, unless battery technology has a major change and we start using something other than lithium, which we'll get to in just a moment. Still using lithium, but at least starting to remove some of the rare minerals. But ideally, you'd have not everyone, but everyone who would like to have a plug-in have options. You know, I've always said my dream vehicle, both for myself and for the environment, is a Bronco, ideally with a V8, but very happy with the 2.7 liter twin turbo EcoBoost, as well as an electric motor and roughly 15 to 20 kilowatts. Because let's say a 20 kilowatt battery on a Bronco would get you about 60 miles, 50 to 60 miles of range. Now, for almost all drivers, the huge majority, not 100% of drivers, but a huge majority of drivers, 50 miles, 50 to 60 miles gets you to work and gets you back home. Remember, your house is when you have an electric vehicle or plug-in, your house is your gas station. So you don't need range anxiety when you have, you know, the capability to refuel, add electricity to your vehicle at home. So plug-in, you'd use, let's say our Lightning has 131 kilowatt battery. 130 kilowatts, well, we'd have roughly, we can make 6 really great plug-in vehicles from that one battery. And with lithium being a rare resource, that's the way to go. Most people will be electric all the time. And when you want to go down to Florida or when you want to go on an 8-hour drive, you have that gasoline engine. When you want to have that V8 sound, you can have a 5-liter V8 plug-in. I love the 5-liter. It is phenomenal. It's an incredible, incredible engine. And that is the real way to keep prices low, make this accessible so people can actually own these vehicles. The dumbest thing is to try to push electric vehicles and have things exist like the Hummer with 200 and some odd kilowatt battery. And now Ram, they're talking, you know, they made a big joke during the Super Bowl saying premature electrification, and the whole commercial, and actually I can go to it, the whole commercial is a joke on basically if you buy another electric vehicle, your partner isn't going to be satisfied, you're not going to be satisfied, everyone's going to be worried about if you can get the job done. I think, yeah, that's how we can put it, right? Getting the job done. And I wanted to play that here. I had it set up, but I went into looking at those nice little pictures of the Ram. Good looking vehicle. And you look over the forums, a lot of people are upset that it's not this wild prototype. I'm sorry, but I think, you know, I feel that not everyone wants a Cybertruck. I think a lot of the people that want a Cybertruck, I don't know how many they're going to actually sell. I think something like this style right here is going to sell much better. So let's just watch a little bit.
Then you could be one of many Americans concerned about premature electrification. Symptoms may include fearing you might not be able to last as long as you'd like. There was plenty of charge before. Sometimes it goes away. A lot of times. I've been working on being unsure if you have enough power to handle your payload. I don't want to put any power for this baby. I'm adventurous. I like to go all the way. I don't want to have to question if we're good. It's a concern. Lacking the confidence about getting and being able to keep charge.
Having to stop every time we got really excited, that wouldn't work for me. Stop. Start. Stop. Start.
If PE, premature electrification, is something you're worried about, go to ramrev.com and find out if the Ram 1500 Rev, with options being...
So yeah, they're saying that the Ram Rev is going to solve all your problems about premature electrification, which I think it's funny, but oddly, I think the whole push towards EV is premature electrification. Right now, we only have lithium for batteries that can be applied in these vehicles. There's a limited amount. Manufacturers are fighting over these batteries. Prices are skyrocketing, and I do not feel like being pushed out of ownership. I certainly do not feel like paying for a ride to go work for, you know, someone else's fortunes. I really think this is a way for corporations to make more money. So I'm not a huge fan of things being forced to be electrified. Plug-in is the way to go. So that's all my bad news. That's all the upsetting news where I might upset some people, but they're just facts. Lithium, limited resource, good amount of pollution to mine it, humanitarian issues in regards to mining it, and these batteries have to be huge. Now, RAM is talking about, taking away your range anxiety and your, the whole joke, premature electrification, as in others have done it too quickly. They're a little late to the game, so they're actually throwing the ball back on their competitors, saying, "Hey, you were too early. You didn't make it at the right time." And they've been talking about 500-mile range. Well, here's the thing with being 100% electric. The more range you want, the heavier you have to be. The heavier you are, the less well that's going to go for towing range. So it's this, this wild battle of, well, we want more range. Well, now the vehicle's heavier, and it's, at a certain point, you can't have 8,000, 9,000 pound vehicles going around on the road. And then the second you go to pull with them, well, it's going to wear everything out quicker, including the range on the battery and the durability of the battery. So Ford might have a solution. They've got the halfway solution already. So Ford is the first automaker to commit to build both nickel, cobalt, manganese, NCM, and lithium iron phosphate LFP batteries in the US. So here we go. Here's the good news. Ford is actually looking into other battery technologies. Yes, one is lithium iron phosphate, but that's removing two of the rare minerals, and then you also have nickel, cobalt, manganese batteries, NCM batteries. So that's going to be good for jobs, because one of my worries with the EV push is actually giving a huge advantage to Chinese manufacturers who will hide under, European and American names by buying them quietly from behind. But Ford really wants to be, they want to make sure that they stay number two and hopefully become number one in regards to electric vehicles, but they definitely want to keep that number two position. So what's really great is you've got Ford investing $3.5 billion to build an LFP battery plant in Marshall, Michigan. And this is part of their $50 billion plus global push to lead the EV revolution, if you want to call it that. But this is going to create some 2,500 jobs in Michigan. Now, electric vehicles aren't, in a way, they're complex, but they're, of course they're complex when you look at that autonomous driving. And why is everyone pushing for autonomous driving? We don't need the vehicle driving itself. Hyundai actually, coincidentally, just did a commercial with, people putting on the Boston accent and arguing, but they did a commercial on how their vehicle can park itself and also unpark itself. And you've got all these companies pushing for the vehicle to drive itself when not that many people actually need it, and even less, not that many. I should say not many people want it and even less need it. So some people want it, but they don't really need it just because they're tech fans. But I think that's all about having these, essentially self-driving taxis picking you up, bringing you to where you have to work away all day, and then bringing you back home, and not having us have the pleasure of vehicle ownership because they're just not affordable. So Ford is working to create other battery technologies which will help with affordability. So that's really great. Before we get on to other news, just to go back, this is the official look on the Ram. And if you head over to Motor Trend, you can check it out. This was the prototype. So over on Motor Trend, open 2 pages on your laptop or on your on your television if you can. Or if you have multiple phones, but check it out. It did change a good amount, but it did keep the lights. It kept a bit of the bottom grille look. Of course, the doors, bed, tires, hood, windshield, suicide doors, all that changed, and the ability to have things stored from essentially that Ram logo all in the front all the way to the tailgate is gone. And some people are upset, but I'd say they've made this more of a truck. Now, said I'd talk more good news. Well, the good news is Tesla lowered its prices. So if you've just bought a Tesla, that's actually really bad news because you just lost a whole lot of value on your recently purchased Tesla. Ford, on the other hand, the Mach-E, they want to stay in the number 2 position. So they also are lowering the price of the Mustang Mach-E. And what's cool is if you've bought in 2023, even if you've already bought, Ford is going to give you that reduction. They're going to contact you. They're going to give you the reduction. So I think that's really good on
So
Ford.
I'm closer to have one because I said it's the price that just holding me from having a Mach-E.
Yes, and I've got good news for you. Ford is going to be putting the LFP battery, the lithium iron phosphate battery, in the Mach-E Selects this year. Maybe that's part of the reason why they keep pushing off production of the Select Mach-E. It was, well, originally they would have produced them at the beginning of production. Then we were looking at March 1st. Now April 1st, and I heard a little rumor that the April 1st has now even been pushed, at least for Canada, to May 1st. I didn't see it on paper. I heard it, so far it's a rumor. But the April 1st startup date is not a rumor. I've seen that on paper. Mach-E production is going to start in April 1st. Had it on paper, but it actually might turn into May 1st. And that probably has a lot to do with putting those new batteries in. Now, what I really like about lithium iron phosphate, your range is going to be a little lower. However, it's going to charge considerably faster. So I think that is the real nuisance. I don't mind, with the Bronco and the dogs, we're pulling over regularly anyways. With my bladder, this year my bladder was a lot better. I've been on antibiotics now for a month, and I didn't have to pull over every 2 hours, which was great. But if, they have these Mach-E's and you only need to pull over every 3 hours, and instead of, let's say, a 42-minute charge, they can get that down to about, ideally, the real ideal is 5 to 10 minutes. It's not going to be the case. I'm thinking we're probably going to find out, actually on the Mach-E, it's more like to go from 15 to 80%. It's more about 35 minutes. With the lithium iron phosphate, maybe we'll get 20, 25. I'll keep you all updated on that. So John B. Meanstroke has a question before we finish up the news.
Yeah, it was, can you still go into the bed from the cab for the Ram? So you said no. They changed it.
You can't go from the front into the cabin. I'm still waiting for official news to find out, and maybe Dave, if he's still here from All Terrain Nation, maybe he can answer us. But I don't think they've officially said that you won't be able to put down to go from the bed into the cab. Now, I really don't think it's going to be on a rail system because the whole rail system doesn't work because, gravel, sand, and whatnot. Maybe you'll be able to still fold down the seats forward and then fold the back metal back and have things go through. And I think that would be really cool. But we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll need to see. And we have another question from For High For Low said, what is bad about hydrogen vehicles?
Hydrogen vehicles, what's bad is they're having trouble figuring out how to easily make a lot of profit from it. So really nothing bad for us. I did in advanced chemistry in high school. We were making hydrogen. You just need an electricity source. So that's another thing plug-in vehicles could be used for. You could have plug-in hydrogen vehicles where you use that battery, which gets recharged. Let's say it wasn't used for propulsion, but that the battery is recharged by the electric motor when you let go of the accelerator. Well, that battery could then be used, its electricity, to just take water and split hydrogen from oxygen. Your exhaust would put out oxygen into the atmosphere, and let's say we could double the oxygen in the atmosphere over time. Well, we'd be growing, we'd all be bigger. Our tomato plants would be bigger. There was actually an experiment made at one point giving double the oxygen to plants and also removing the ultraviolet light and just having, pure light given to a tomato plant. And this thing grew to about 42 feet tall, made 15,000 cherry tomatoes that were the size of a baseball. And this thing was publicly seen. It was put in a mall. So not just crazy conspiracy talk here. It's actually put in a mall. It was written about in newspapers. So there's nothing wrong with pumping extra oxygen into the system. Now, John B. Meanstroke says doubling oxygen. That's how you get dinosaurs. Yeah, we could all get a growth spurt from that and could actually maybe even increase our lifespan. However, there's no money to be made in that. If you had this battery just splitting hydrogen and oxygen, shooting out oxygen, and then burning up the hydrogen, you'd have your own power plant, and you just would need a clean water source to run through the system. And if you had filtration, you wouldn't even need the water to be that clean. You could probably use what's called gray water, which is water that's been used for, let's say, a shower, or you know,
just
a
not
shower.
pure water.
Yeah, just not toilet water. So I couldn't move on without saying toilet. It was stuck in my head. So sorry, gang. I apparently have a dirty mind. So that's what's going on right there, and I'm gonna try to wrap this up with the last bit of news. So Ford is actually investing properly into helping out the U.S. infrastructure. This is going to be important for economy, and these days economy and defense, they go together. If you need to defend yourself, you need money to pay for all your defense budget, and the best defense is just making it so no one wants to go to war with you. And that means you need to have an incredible economy. So these electric vehicles, if we go with this all electric push, it makes it so much easier for China to come along, buy up, Volvo, hide behind Volvo so that everything on the internet says that it's a Swedish company, when in reality it's Geely that has it. So interesting little fact here. Electric vehicles are pretty easy to replicate, duplicate, copy. There's a lot less parts to them, a lot easier to copy, and Chinese companies are really good at copying things. So they could really take over the EV space, and they are selling a ton of EVs. So I think electric vehicles could affect the economy and world power balance, because really China, India, they really could get this huge push. You look at Polestar, it's not a Swedish company, it's owned by Geely, and Geely Auto is currently the 7th largest automobile manufacturer in China, so they're only number 7. But they have 1.328 million sales in China in 2021, and globally they sold over 2.2 million cars in 2021, with 17,926 plug-in electric vehicles in January 2022. So pretty good month for being right in the middle of everything that was difficult for production. So they're still producing 17,926 plug-in electric vehicles in January 2022. So huge competition right there. I think what we do really well on our end of the ocean is diesel engines, gasoline engines, and I don't see why people should be forced to not buy those. Diesel is now very clean. I don't know why. I disagree. I understand why people remove all the technology that makes diesel clean. They want more power, but come on, people. Let's not turn that clean running diesel, reliable diesel engine, and then chip it and do an EGR delete, and then just essentially have coal spewing out the back. No one wants smog. We want to be able to walk our dogs and see 30 feet in front of us, and see the traffic, and see, also see the sky and whatnot. We don't need smog. We don't need to be choking on coal. So I think if we do diesel in a responsible manner, diesel is a fine solution. Gasoline plug-in, diesel plug-in, it's never going to happen, but your own hydrogen, your own hydrogen vehicle that's converting water into hydrogen, that would be the best, but they can't find a way to make money from it. So it's almost certainly not going to happen. Just like they're not going to have electric vehicles that run from modifying radio waves and just general waves in the atmosphere. We're not going to have vehicles that modify those frequencies so that you can have electric generation and have electricity exist within a unit for free, which is what Nikola Tesla claims to have made, showed it to some people, But anyways, that technology never came along. The tower that he had made to modify the waves in the atmosphere to allow an electric appliance to just pick up electricity right out of the air, well, that tower was taken down because a corporation owned it, and they weren't too thrilled to find out when he made the claim that he was able to create electricity and give electricity for free. So that there would be more on the not 100% proven side of things. So M Peugeot, yes, where has M Peugeot here? You're here every Monday night, so I don't know what's going on there. I know I got a message from Ridgeview, so I hope he's not telling me, Johnny, sorry, I can't hear you at all. So I am trying to talk louder and talk a little more in this episode because, well, when we know we've got a volume issue, Marie is a volume issue in herself. She is a soft French speaker. So that's why I'm talking even more than usual in tonight's episode. So I'm just going to look at how we're wrapping up this show. Do you want to talk a little bit about your impressions on the Lightning as well as on the style of the Ram?
Yeah, I really love the style of the Ram, by the way. Sorry, I have trouble to pronounce tonight. Uh, so yes, and the color that they, I know you probably won't see it the way I see it on the computer screen, but it's a blue that looks like azure gray on the Ford Lightning. So I really love that kind of color. When we saw the back just before, yeah, this picture, thank you. I think the design is really great. They made it well. I guess.
Just about design, I need to be negative because I want to bug you. I bought you flowers tonight for Valentine's Day, and it was for Valentine's Day. It's not because I knew I was going to say this.
Yeah,
I did know I was going to say this. No, actually, I didn't know I was going to say this. I was like, I can't fight it. These side boxes on the bed of the Ram are a really cool idea. Ram, congratulations. Awesome idea. You know, you put in and it locks. So whether it's weaponry, tools, it's so cool. Except you then lose space in your box. You lose about 6 inches on either side. And is a truck really a truck if you can't put a 4x8 in it? There's a question right there. So I've got an issue that it makes it difficult to have it do truck things, and which is why I'd say I love the Lightning as a performance vehicle. I love the Lightning as a hauling truck because it barely gets affected by its range, barely gets affected by putting 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 pounds in the bed, barely any effect. But as a towing truck, it sucks. This, premature electrification, this with if it even gets 500 miles, we'll find out if Ram actually makes that happen. But it's still gonna suck at towing, over 4,000 pounds. It's gonna suck. The range is gonna suck. If you try to pull 10,000 pounds with this and it does get 500-mile range, I can bet you just the same, it's gonna cut down in half and be at 250 miles. And if it's in the middle of the winter and you're towing that weight, well, you're gonna cut it down again, and you're gonna be playing around, maybe as low as 125 to 150 miles. So these are great electric vehicles. They're not great electric towing trucks. They're pretty awful. And I still love my Lightning. I'll give it back to you. I'm sorry I had to talk about those awesome yet not awesome lock boxes on the side.
Also, I think the real version is better than the prototype, so I really love that. So they did a good job. And before in the chat, I saw the WB saying that the Silverado was too futuristic for his taste. So yes, like you said at the beginning, John, I'm pretty sure that people who love trucks and want to buy an electric truck still want to have that kind of look, the truck look. That's why I chose the Maverick over the Santa Cruz. For me, the Santa Cruz is not that much of a truck look. It's more like an SUV disguised with a bed to make sure you have a little truck. So yeah, I really love when they keep and the Dodge Ram was always a big competitor.
Are you calling the Santa Cruz a cross-dresser?
No?
It kind of sound like you described it as a cross-dresser.
I don't know all these words anyway.
You're saying it dresses like a truck, but is
bed.
Yeah, it's dressed like a car with a bed.
SUV.
That kind of sounds like a cross-dresser.
SUV with a bed, yeah.
Okay. Well, there's nothing bad about that. That works for some people.
Yeah, and I forgot what I was saying. Thank you, John.
I'm good about it. Yeah. I'm good about that, I guess. So the Maverick, though, still pretty trucky because you can still have that 4x8 and Ford. I'm gonna let you think about what you're saying, but
Thank you.
Ford has shown the industry and governments what people want. So, what's the number one sold vehicle in North America? The F-150. It's the number one sold vehicle in Canada. It's the number one sold vehicle in the USA. It sells more than the Honda Civic in Canada, and we're not a super rich nation. So normally budget vehicles, not normally. They always sell incredibly well, even if they're complete
You
hot
see more
garbage. If the
little
price is
cars.
low, yeah, little cars in Canada, they can be hot, stinking piles of hot garbage. And if the price is low, they'll still sell a ton of them, even if the reputation is don't touch that. It's horrible. So I can think of some models in 2002, 2005. You actually had one of those hot pieces of garbage, and yours wasn't even the hottest, biggest piece of pile of dung. There was worse, and they sold really well. And they
It was a Chevrolet Aveo.
I didn't want to say the name, but okay. So
I was young.
they
It was my
sell
first
really
car.
well in Canada. But nonetheless, the F-150, best-selling vehicle, not truck, best-selling vehicle in North America, Canada included. And the Ford F-Series has continued its dominance as America's top-selling truck because they surpassed 640,000 vehicles in 2022. And that's pretty wild. So that's an F-Series vehicle every 49 seconds, and that's 46 years in a row that they are at the top, number one spot for sales. 41 record-setting years across all automakers. 41 record-setting years. In Canada, it's actually been the most sold truck for, it must be like, I think it's now 58 years. It's over 55 years. So really impressive. That's what people want. People want gas-powered trucks. So government's making this push all towards EV. They're ignoring what people want. They don't even want, if they can afford it, they don't even want that budget car. They don't want a sports car. They want a truck. And why do they want a truck? For practicality. So why are you forcing us trucks that aren't practical? This is what's wild. It goes against, like, they just have to look at the facts and they know. But that's the thing. They're not looking at the facts of what we want. They're looking at the facts, maybe in how they would put it, what we need. This has been talked about at Davos for every year for several years. Heads of major corporations, financial institutions, a lot of people have been saying we're going towards a future where people are just going to love renting everything. Why would we ever love renting a vehicle if they're way too expensive to buy?
Mm-hmm.
And if we continue to be forced, if it really comes into play that we're forced to buy lithium vehicles, we won't be able to afford them, and we will be happy to not buy them but to rent them.
That's
and I think
scary.
that's scary. It upsets me. And John B. Meanstroke says that's a dumb prediction. Maybe, but we'll see. Time will tell.
We hope some things will change till then.
Time will tell, but just, you can go into, there's a lot of, you can read, you can listen to, people talking at Davos saying that we're going towards a future where what they want to put in place actually is a future where we rent everything. That also means more profits for corporations and less money in our pockets. Homeownership has been the number one resource to creating wealth for normal people. It's how people can retire, sell their big family home, buy a bungalow or a condo, and have retirement money. So I'm not into this whole, and of course that's not quite the case because vehicles have always been depreciating assets. So it's not nearly as bad as this, buying up of the market by big, huge corporations and firms. And then, prices going up, more and more people being forced to rent because, if you think I'm crazy, the data for housing is there. More and more people are being forced to rent, right now they're just renting for a longer period of time. The average purchasing age has gone up every single decade. and it's going to continue to go up if this trend continues of corporations buying up a lot of real estate. Now, lithium, the prices have gone up. If we're all forced to buy electric vehicles and we can't afford them, you might think my prediction is dumb, but if you can't afford the vehicle, what other option are we going to have? We still need the transportation to work. So I still want to own my own vehicle. Marie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, what about you? About what you said, I don't know. It's like it's all new, the electric car. So I guess I'm not now in the mood to project myself in the future that much. I'm still saying, okay, what is that? Lightning? I need to check more. Yeah, but
Marie sometimes tell me, she's like, you're all doom and gloom. Stop ruining my day. I'm like, hon,
he loves to philosophize, so he's
I'm
like
like,
that.
here, look at this speech by this world leader. Or look at what Kathy Woods is saying, or look at what Elon Musk was saying at the World Trade Economic Forum. And I'm sorry, I got that title wrong, but I'm sure the people that run it, they don't watch my channel. They're too busy on 300-foot long yachts. So, important work they're doing.
But
yeah.
You know what? I will change the subject for you guys. You know your computer was listening to you?
Oh, what was it?
Yeah, because you were talking at the beginning of the show about how many times you need to stop when you go on vacation because you had a bladder problem and you need to pee often. And look at the publicity just right there.
You're killing me.
It's
Now-
a Depend publicity adult diaper just for you. I
Well-
find it so funny. Your computer was listening.
Well-
You have a problem, he has a solution just right there.
Corporations, I prefer having corporations wanting to, take care of me by selling me things than a government that tries to control me. So I'm sorry, I don't like being forced into this electric push. The grid's not
You want more
entirely ready
choice.
for it. I want choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I love electric vehicles. I love my Lightning. This thing is insane. But I also want to be able to have the choice, if I can afford it, to have a Mustang convertible with a plug-in. And if it's going to be my daily, I want to also have the choice to take it as a plug-in. So during the week, I can quietly go to work for essentially free, because electricity here is about 6 or 7 cents a kilowatt, right around.
I need to check.
It's about 6 cents a kilowatt. So it costs pretty much nothing to charge up the Lightning off the home. And I love it. But I strongly dislike, I'm sorry, I dislike the word hate, but I strongly dislike being forced and pushed into it, especially when I see what this is doing to prices. Now, the Mach-E starting price, the MSRP on the new Mach-E now starts at $45,995.
Better.
So John B. Meanstroke, thank you very much. Do you want to just read
Yeah.
out what he had to say?
Yeah, I wanted to let you know before the show ends. So we said it didn't say the prediction was dumb. Correction. Whoever made that prediction about people being happy about renting is dumb.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes. And you know what's funny? You can, I don't know if this is the right term to use, but you can have actually people fighting to protect a system that doesn't serve them. So if you think back to, the feudal system, several hundred years ago, and even worse than the feudal system, there were people that, fought to protect, what you could say is, their masters. So historically, you let people be just comfortable enough. They might even fight for that bare minimum comfort. And, if you're letting people still be driven in a comfortable vehicle to work, even if it costs them, whatever it is, you pay probably a monthly subscription, because they're also talking about moving towards subscriptions for everything. So your monthly payment, so you can be driven back and forth to work. Bugs me. It bugs me, and let's hope it doesn't happen. But at least Ford, the great news is Ford is working at alternative batteries. And if battery prices can stay low, at least one of the two things that really bothers me in this situation is gone. I want, at least if I have choice to buy which electric vehicle I want, it's still better than no choice. and having to haul my butt into, a communal shared vehicle. Um, I have problems with germs. I went to Costco to pick up flowers, and it wasn't buying the flowers that bothered me. It was being in this big space with people everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
because there are probably a lot of people tonight, last minute, to go pick up a dinner for tomorrow.
it's
Flowers and
animals being in a forest. They don't scare me. If I see a wolf or a bear, my adrenaline will pump, but I won't be scared unless it's rushing me. But I definitely feel like I definitely do not feel safe when I'm in large public areas. So that's a little bit of personal to add to the channel. Now, if there's any questions right before we sign off, we're here to answer any of these questions. So go right ahead.
go ahead. We don't have for now, but I need to say that I saw tonight on the chat that few people had a build date for the Maverick. So congratulations, and tell us in the chat the when you will have it, when you have the date to for the delivery.
Yeah.
We'll be happy for you.
We're happy for you, and we're also happy to share our Maverick with you. Now, it did get pushed back one entire month. So oddly, they built our Maverick. It said completed, and it was waiting, it was completed, and the timeline also fit with it being completed. I think it was about 2 weeks after it went in, it said completed. Then for whatever reason, it went back to body shop for 3 whole weeks. I don't know why. Then even when it came out, instead of being selected for
I
transport,
already broke it.
a Maverick Tremor that got ordered in September 2022 for the very first time got put on the train, and our Maverick sat right there. But we are excited to show what accessories we're going to get with it. The F-150 Lightning, we're going to do an install, probably for the channel, an install of the roll-up flat bed cover. So I believe it's we'll go through it, but I think this one's by Tuxedo. It's the premium cover. But it's pretty much flat with the bed. It looks great, and that installation will help you with really any trucks on the market: GM, Dodge, Ram, whatever, Ford, Maverick, Ranger. So we're getting it right around. Yep. Alan's right. We're getting ours right around. Oh, sorry. We're getting ours March 17th. It looks like you're getting yours April 17th. So
Yeah.
congratulations. You'll get it a month after ours, and we hope no one who watches the channel is going to have the same experience as us and get that month delay. So our
Yeah.
ETA
I
got
guess
pushed
they
back
know,
by a month and a bit.
Yeah, they know I'm able to wait, and I'm good at it, so they made me wait one more.
Is Ford watching the channel and be like, hey, we just sent that guy Lightning, and he has a Raptor, and he has a Mustang, and maybe they weren't listening close enough to know we'd have to trade in the Bronco to make this happen. So maybe they're thinking we had a Bronco too. So like,
It's
no,
all is.
he
I
doesn't
want
need
my
it.
car.
So Ford maybe was watching and saying he doesn't need it. We'll just keep this Maverick a little longer here and
It's
put
just-
someone else's forward.
Just because for the neighbor, it's funny. We have two white F-150 in the front of the house, so we look like we just started a construction company.
And yeah,
Yeah, it's a joke on us.
so then the construction that we did on the house, it's done. So Jay Bogues, congratulations. Yeah, you got your Mav 2 weeks ago. Awesome.
Wow.
Do write in what you've been thinking of the handling, the comfort, the drive, the ride, the interior, and I'll let you know that. Go ahead.
Oh, it's the hot pepper red that you love.
Oh, yes. Okay, so hot pepper red, I wasn't sure when I got emotional with the Bronco. They took away rapid red. If I recall that it was rapid red, and they put on hot pepper red, and I wasn't sure. I emotionally, they took something away, so I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that hot pepper red. And it's really long, and when you're doing news and you're trying to say things correctly and pronounce things properly, it's frustrating when a manufacturer calls something like hot chili pepper red metallic, and it gets mixed up in your mind. But
Red chili pepper, yeah.
I'll forgive Ford, because with their battery tech collaborators, they've announced $17.6 billion in investment in EV, electric vehicle, and battery production in the United States since 2019, leading to more than 18,000 direct jobs in the US and more than 100,000 indirect jobs. So that is the type of thing I like to report on. What I don't want to be reporting on in the future is, Chinese electric vehicles taking over our market, because they're relatively easy. It's relatively easy tech to copy. An electric motor isn't, mind-blowingly complicated. And it's not mind-blowingly complicated to just copy it and have it be just as, or pretty much just as reliable as the original. It's not like the complexity of a gasoline internal combustion engine where you get one little thing wrong, let's say the coating on your valves, and then the whole engine blows up and the whole industry goes wild, and every single journalist jumps on the "Let's Hate Broncos Now" bandwagon, other than a few of us who are like, hey, come on, let's look at the numbers. It's not a big deal. We need Mr. Fusion. Yeah, Fusion is going to solve a lot of things. I don't want to talk about Fusion because it seems I was watching the CBC News while listening to the radio. I was listening to the radio news, and they're kind of talking about scientists saying that Fusion is kind of figured out. But anyways, we'll see what's going on with that. And I even recently heard something interesting about the future of really small nuclear reactors, very small ones for power production. But we'll have to see. So we live in LA, so half the driving is all electric. Yeah, that's cool. If you're in any city, all these full electric vehicles make a ton of sense. If you're out in the country where, you know, in between towns, you're going to be driving, let's say, 50 miles just to get to the next town, sometimes more. If you want to be towing something like your camper, and it's funny, in the commercial that we were showing earlier from Dodge, you know, they're making fun of the competition, saying they're premature to electrification, and they've got this big camper, and everyone's so sad. This thing is not going to have incredible range when towing a 10,000 pound camper. So the joke's on everybody. The joke's on everybody, but I think when Ram made that commercial, I don't know if they really thought it through, if they're just maybe really focused on, hey, we're going to offer 500 miles. It's better than other trucks. This is awesome. We're coming to the game and we're beating everyone. And if they do come out with 500 miles, yeah, they will be beating everyone. If everyone else hasn't caught up by then, we'll wait and see. Either way, I like the style. I like the idea. And one thing Dodge is doing really, really well, you've got that Charger making incredible sound. I can't quite remember the name. They gave it an odd name, like Frank Sonic. I think the name is Frank Sonic. Basically, they're capturing the electric motor noise at the front and piping it through, or kind of like an organ, I guess, but piping it through the back to have actually what's a pretty darn cool sound, which was one of the...
That's a great idea.
You'll hear my first impressions on the F-150 Lightning. One of the things is it's hard to be as emotionally attached to it as the Raptor, because the Raptor, it forces you to notice it. It makes noise. And actually, you know, these guys are really great at making noise. They're doing it on electric. And I hope this catches on with Ford. At least Ford, GM. Okay, let whoever is running the company, if they think it's silly to have a sound coming off an electric vehicle, fine, that's your opinion. How complicated or how much trouble is it to have the option? Now, in the Mach-E, you have the option. You can turn on propulsion noise or turn it off, but it's just sound simulated through the speakers. So it's a made-up sound through the speakers. I think it's cool when you can stomp on it. And, you know, some people want to be loud and proud. You know, step on the pedal and be heard. Mind you, speeding when no one can hear you is a lot cheaper.
When you always had sound when you were driving,
Yeah.
I guess electric vehicle
I'm gonna lose my license.
looks kind of boring.
It's not even about boring. It's about my emotional attachment to the vehicle. And when I stomp on the light, and I don't stomp. I press on the Lightning, and it feels like I'm going 40 kilometers an hour. So let's say 30 miles per hour, and I'm actually going 55 miles per hour. Because there's no sound. That's an issue. I'm going too fast, and I don't want to. I'm not that type of guy.
We'll tell you your secret. We'll tell them your secret tonight.
That I'm a premature accelerator?
Yeah, but each time with the Mustang, when the summer begin, we're at a stop, and he drops the music, and then he wants to hear the sound when he goes. And I'm always putting the music back, and he shut it off. It needs to hear the sound again. So we're always doing this.
And if it's a tunnel.
Music on, music off, music on.
And if it's a tunnel, I'll turn down the music and I'll leave
Impossible
my
ride.
hand on the dial and I say, you're not touching this. And I'll go through that tunnel with that V8 screaming through the tunnel because it sounds amazing. And I get attached to this.
Sometimes I'm like, yeah, can we have music now?
So even though there's an EV push,
It's boring.
manufacturers, please remember, we're not robots. We're human. We're men. We work hard. Women work hard too. But you see, some of you seem to be excited by different things. I don't understand. It is very, and a loud exhaust is exciting. It's just exciting, and I want my loud exhaust. So people, manufacturers, please rethink about people when you're building these. Look at what's already been a success and duplicate and repeat. If you're gonna go EV, look at what worked on gas and take some of the highlights from it. Take all of the highlights. Take what people love and try to bring it to EV. So I applaud Ram for having an exhaust. I don't applaud them for making a commercial that made sense, but when you really think about it, it's kind of laughing at everyone, including themselves, with this vehicle, because it's not going to be great at towing 10,000 pounds. But that's that. That's the show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us all the way to the end. Really appreciate it. And we always like the comments. Now we will work on sound. We got your messages. Don't be shy. If you've made it this far, type finisher once the show closes in the little box, if you could, and leave me a little message if you found the sound was okay, bad, or good.
We'll try something
It
new
won't hurt.
again.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt our feelings. We're playing around with different things, and we're trying not to go back into our old office because we spent a good amount of time, fixing this one up, getting the TV here, which it's not going back upstairs. But if we have to, I'll go back up into the other office in the house. But this is an actual dedicated office where I can close the door and Marie can still have a life while I'm filming. So think of Marie. Drop a comment about our sound.
It's my fault. I'm sorry, guys.
Hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget the bell notification so that you know about our videos that you can then choose to watch or not, but at least you know they exist. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone.
Thank
Have a great
you.
week.